State of Canadian Armed Forces. Readiness grows worse. Military ditching aptitude test. This is the Grey White North Report. I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love. So this came out last week. The State of Canadian Armed Forces combat readiness growing worse, according to government reports. And the Department of National Defense says almost half of the military equipment is unserviceable. This is what happens when we do not replace things in a timely manner. And also when we've given a lot of it away. So only 58% of the Canadian Armed Forces would be able to respond if called upon in a crisis by NATO allies right now. I have said this time and time again for the last 5 years that we are not prepared for any major conflict and that we could never fight World War I or II again, given the state of our military and the state of our current makeup nationally of our country. We wouldn't be unified enough to fight those kind of wars again. Almost half of the military's equipment is considered unavailable and unserviceable, as well as obsolete. This according to the Internal Department of National Defense. In a time where you have the Chinese Communist Party starting muscling in the South China Sea and being very belligerent to a lot of other countries, as well as Russia and their illegal invasion of Ukraine. And then, of course, you got the Hamas-Israeli war with Hezbollah and the Houthis on top of that, and Iran backing them all. And then you have North Korea trying to prove it can play with the big boys by shooting missiles and threatening South Korea. So again, the Cold War is coming back whether you like it or not. And Canada has done very little to modernize its armed forces. Yes, we've purchased new frigates around the board and we have new fighter jets, but it's going to take time. We're not going to get anything for another couple of years. One of the problems is they say we don't have enough people and we don't have enough ammo. 55% of the fighters, maritime aviation, search, rescue, and tactical aviation trainers and transport are considered unserviceable in the Air Force. We're using obsolete equipment. We finally got rid of the Sea Kings and now we have the Cyclones, which have not proven to be the best either. They've had some major problems with the Cyclones. This is what happens when you buy things on the cheap and don't go after top quality. The Navy is not far behind. 54% of its frigates, submarines, and Arctic offshore patrol ships and defense vessels are in no state to deploy. Again, there are shortages in people. The frigates are old and will not be replaced for another 2-3 years. The submarines were again bought cheaply to replace the older submarines, and they have been mostly in dry dock getting for repairs. This is what happens when you buy used equipment. The Arctic offshore patrol ships, I think 4 of them are in the water currently. 3 of them are definitely on patrol, but they don't pack enough punch. And there's not much else after that. The Army fares slightly better with only 46% of its equipment considered unserviceable. Again, our tanks we need new tanks, and we've sent a lot of our equipment to Ukraine. Our artillery, we need new artillery. We sent our 4 mortars to Ukraine and all of our ammunition. We haven't replaced it yet. We haven't started building up stockpiles. We could, but we don't. And yes, I support giving our stuff to Ukraine because it helps the Ukrainians fight off the Russians. Had Russia been able to walk into Ukraine unopposed and the Ukrainians had not put up a stiff resistance, then Russia might have been emboldened to tackle Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Moldavia and be that much closer into Europe. Something the Poles definitely don't want. I know Latvia and Lithuania are part of the NATO alliance, and it would force NATO's hand. We would have to come to defense. But it would bring the Russians that much closer to those borders. And yes, I know about Kaliningrad. The Russians have that tiny enclave in Kaliningrad, which they keep, which is a thorn in the side of the NATO alliance. But so last year, the document said the military was short almost 16,000 members, encompassing both regular and reserve elements. This is because a lot of people are turned off because the Canadian military, their recruitment process has gone woke with inclusiveness and diversity, and they've also relaxed some of their standards in how they're presented in order to try and attract recruits. It's really pissed off a lot of the veterans. There's also been a massive witch hunt at the top of the Canadian military with the Me Too movement. So a lot of top military officials have been forcibly retired because of scandals. Whether the accusations are true or not is another question. Because what they're trying to gun for is a woman at the top command. That was the whole idea between the witch hunt. I have cousins in the military. They tell me this stuff. So because of Trudeau's reckless spending, thanks to his partnership with the NDP and all the useless programs that go through with that, there is a huge deficit, and the Canadian government is looking for ways to cut costs, and $79 million of that money is coming out of ready forces. So they're going to shuffle $810 million around, of which $79 million of that is coming out of ready forces. Meanwhile, we just promised $125 million to Haiti. And we restarted funding to UNRWA, and we're giving another $60 million to the Gazans for aid. Why would I waste money there? In either place. So when they're throwing money around to other countries, that makes me sick. Instead of keeping it here and putting it in our military. Foreign aid alone last year was over $6 billion Canadian. Why didn't we shuffle some of that? We don't need to give money to North Korea, China, Iran, the West Bank or Gaza, or places like Haiti. And yes, we gave money to them. 2021, China still got $2 million despite causing a pandemic and keeping Spavor and Kovrig. Iran got money despite the fact they shot down an airliner. That's how stupid our government is. So they're going to cut costs in the military. And with the way the Liberals are spending and making things happen, we are definitely not keeping up with our commitments to NATO, let alone NORAD, which is another mess. Now, we are obliged to keep 3,400 members of its armed forces at a high state of readiness as of pre-2022 because of the Ukraine-Russo war. And I don't know if we can keep that kind of commitment going with what we got. We are deficient in artillery, deficient in armor, and very deficient in stockpiles of ammunition. Probably the thing we have the most of is the light armor vehicles. We have a lot of our equipment's older and it costs more to maintain. The problem with the Canadian government when it comes to defense is that we have too much of the procurement system is too long. There's too much red tape. There's too much debate. It takes a long time to go through bids. When there is a successful bid, the losers tend to sue the government to try and drag things out even more. And it just takes a long time. Priorities were kind of screwed. So this is going to take a long time to fix. The military, in hopes of doing something, are ditching aptitude tests for some applicants and will start accepting recruits with medical conditions. It depends what the medical condition is, and some people can work in the supply area if you have medical conditions. There are other ways to serve your country in the military without actually having to be in the field, but we do need more field soldiers and sailors. Recruits with medical conditions in the rear areas, rear echelons of the military. That's not a problem there. But dropping the aptitude test means you're not going to have the smartest soldiers. Maybe they can learn. For dozens of jobs and plans to start accepting recruits with pre-existing medical conditions. Trial efforts meant to boost the Canadian Armed Forces' dismal recruitment numbers. Again, I think they're going about it the wrong way. You have to dangle carrots to get recruits. And the best way to do that is double the pay. Make it attractive to serve 4 to 5 years. If you're 18 years old, you can make more money working in factories than you can with the Canadian military. You go work at Toyota, you make tons of money there, and you don't get shot at. Not just doubling the pay, but if you're just at a university or college and you have student debt, serve a couple of years and get debt forgiveness. Get paid and get debt forgiveness. That'd be another way. Pay for schooling. Get paid a lot of money and get paid for schooling after you're done. There are other ways we can get recruits. And we got to get rid of the diverseness issue. The whole idea of diversity and identity politics. That does not belong in the military. And allow those who want to serve for patriotism in their country. But my idea would basically be to increase pay by a lot. Offer debt forgiveness on student loans if you serve and complete your service, and you'll see an increase. Hell, I even say credit card debt. If you got credit card debt, instead of going to one of those debt consolidation, hey, serve a couple of years in the military. We got people on welfare. Why don't they serve in the military? Do something useful. Just something to throw out there. Homeless people. I know a lot of them are hard on their luck, but the military is a way of life. and does put some pride in you. So those are my ideas for getting the military back up to strength. With increased pay, increased benefits, debt forgiveness, get some housing perks in there. Do whatever you can to get up to where we need to be in terms of recruitment. Then it all goes back into the state of our Canadian Armed Forces. We need to invest in the military industry that we have. General Dynamics and Armortech out in London, they make armored vehicles. How much more can they? We could easily have them design a tank. We need to make our own homegrown stuff, develop stuff ourselves, and stuff that we can export would be a good idea. We definitely need to get our industrial base going. Another shipyard would be great to have, and would definitely speed up the construction of our frigates. And then once the frigates are under construction, start planning for the next big thing. We definitely need submarines. Drone technology is a big thing now. The Ukrainians are proving that. Time to invest in that. We also need cyber warfare. Again, up the pay for these people. Make it attractive. But anyway, those are my ideas on how the military should respond to the state of readiness. Anyway, those are my thoughts and ideas on how the government can improve the state of readiness in the Canadian Armed Forces. Any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think. How can we get more recruits, and how can we speed up our modernization of the military forces? Leave comments in the comment section, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report. I'm in love with the